Hello, hello, hello there, all of you beautiful nerds from around the world, and welcome to another community stream here on the Den of Nerds Live. This one should be really good. You know, we haven't talked much about Game of Thrones as a community, but I know that we all know how popular that show was. It was an insanely popular show, and it sort of left a void. And there's a lot of awesome shows on the horizon that look to be mimicking, or at least attempting to mimic, the success that Game of Thrones had. And the question is, will any of them be successful? And if one will be successful, which one do you think it is? That's what we're going to go over tonight. Should be a good time. I see a bunch of cool people in the chat. Guys, I believe I have the link in chat. But I tell you, I will drop it in again just so everybody's got it. If you want to come on and join me on the stream and have a conversation, just tell me which one you think it'll be. Super Thor C says, Dune! I mean, Dune is not really a show, though. It's going to be a movie. It's going to be a series of movies. I'm kind of thinking we need to talk about what show will be the one to come in. What show? Will a show ever be that popular? You know, it's hard to say exactly how much damage we actually think Game of Thrones did to its own brand. Because I was apt to say that the spin-off shows, the prequel show, could fill that void. But, you know, the question is, are people even going to watch that prequel show? Are people even going to be that into Game of Thrones anything anymore? What if they damage the brand that much? What if people don't want to do it? I don't know. That's interesting. You know, it's a good day when you get Den of Nerds live twice. Amen, brother. Amen. And again, guys, I have the link in the chat. I don't currently have anybody in here that wants to come and join me, which is all good if nobody does. Trust me, I can talk. And I can just talk to you guys in the chat. But if you want to come on and tell me why I'm wrong about stuff, grab that link. Zach Wild says, Amazon's Lord of the Rings. You know, I bet a lot of people think it'll be Amazon's Lord of the Rings. They're spending a boatload of money on it. You know, I guess we'll have to see. Were any of the actors for Game of Thrones, were they ever, like, really, really famous? I don't think any of them had, like, a really acclaimed fame. Sorry, bro. Got to feed my kid again. That was kind of awkward last time. You don't have to worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. I'm sure some people will jump in. And if not, I'll just blabber. Luke Skywalker over Goku. Never forget. Gray says Carnival Row was very good, and it was Amazon. No, that's true. I bring that up about the Game of Thrones thing because I'm not really familiar with a lot of those actors. I know they have a lot of talented people involved in the production, which is really cool. But I don't know. Steve Denton said, didn't it take a few seasons for Game of Thrones to really hit its stride? So it might be years before something else really hits. You know, I do think that's true. I think that the Game of Thrones, I think it was like season 2 or 3 when it started becoming really, really popular. And then pretty much from there on out, like the way I remember it is season 4, 5, 6, 7, it's like the popularity really skyrocketed. Because it's like by the time you're talking about season 5 and 6, you're talking about the biggest show on the planet. You know, so many people watching it, so many people talking about it, and the word of mouth was great for the show, right? So I would have to agree. I'd have to agree that it took a little bit of time. You know, I know a lot of people think maybe The Witcher could be the one. Josh, I just finished the third video of today. Josh's videos 24/7. Dude, you're telling me. You're telling me. Today was a pretty wild day with a lot of video stuff. You know, let me just speak to that for just a second. The Deadpool discussion that I had with Adam this morning versus a lot of other information that sort of came out throughout the day. And then when I saw Jeremy's article about the Deadpool thing, I was like, oh, wow, this is really interesting. And I slightly felt like he was actually talking directly to us in that article. But yeah, it was a good time for sure. Josh, can you read my comment from before? Most of the actors from Game of Thrones came from British television, and that's why you never heard of them before Game of Thrones. That makes sense, and that could actually be exactly what they are doing with the Amazon Lord of the Rings show. And so now, give me 1 second. We got Stormbreaker in here. We'll bring him on in. I have something I want to say to Stormbreaker, actually, so this should be good. And you're in here. What's going on, man?
Everything is great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I saw that Jeremy Conrad retweeted your tweet today.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Jeremy Conrad retweeted one of your replies. I believe it was you. And you got a lot of love on that tweet. I thought that was really cool.
I haven't seen it. So, what do you know what tweet it was? Because I think I forgot.
I think you replied and said something like, "No, Rob Liefeld, Marvel has zero plans making a Deadpool movie with you," or something like that.
I think it wasn't me.
It wasn't you? Oh, it could have been another Stormbreaker. I really thought it was you.
LOL, no, it wasn't me.
Oh, really? Dang.
I haven't said anything about Rob Liefeld. But yeah, it would have been cool, but yeah, I mean.
Damn, I really thought it was you. So let me ask you this: were you a Game of Thrones fan?
I watched the first 3 seasons, but for some reason I stopped watching, and I haven't really picked up on it again. I've seen some things, but I haven't really watched it like the last 5-6 years.
Right on. Yeah. What was like your show? I mean, I know you're a Walking Dead guy. Is that kind of like the show for you? Because Walking Dead was probably very close to as popular as Game of Thrones at one time. At one time, it was at least that popular.
Indeed. I think at one time I think it was like a little more popular actually. But yeah, it all came down with the season 7 that was so bad, and that took away a lot of people who watched the series. So yeah, then Game of Thrones really took off. But yeah, I think The Walking Dead can maybe have an uprising again. You never know.
Yeah, I know you're definitely hoping for that. Do you think any show? Do you have any idea of what the next kind of Game of Thrones and/or Walking Dead level of popularity show would be? Do you have any opinions on this?
I think The Witcher can become that, but I think they will have to need a little bit more budget for the series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the first one wasn't bad qua CGI, but it lacked at some points a little bit. Yeah. Like with the dragons and
Yeah, I think the last episode had a lot of really good effects, and particularly in the last episode and maybe the one before. I don't know what the budget was for that show, but I imagine it was really high.
I think so.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people. I mean, I think Netflix particularly would really want that to be their Game of Thrones. I actually had this question.
Yeah.
Do you think that a show that comes out like The Witcher, because The Witcher comes out and it just gets binged, right? It just all gets dumped. Some people think that Game of Thrones became as popular as it did because there was that water cooler talk. There was the week between.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Netflix shows can still reach that popularity even if they just get dumped out like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so, but I also think Netflix will begin to do that when Disney Plus Disney Plus is doing it like weekly releases.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at one point Netflix is going to see that shows can become more popular when you do that strategy.
Yeah.
So I think Netflix is going to start doing that in the next year or two or something like that.
Yeah, no, dude, if they did that, that would be really interesting. And if they did it
Because
for any, if they did it for any
if you
shows, I would think this would be the one to do it for, to sort of build that hype.
it's just like if you binge a series, the next 2 weeks you're very hyped about the series, but then it slowly cools off. But if you have a week in between, then like the show keeps being trending and all
Right.
those things, yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. If they did that, I think that they could maybe get it to that level. Otherwise, I just don't know if it'll happen. I do know that with The Witcher, they have like 6 or 7 more seasons that they could do because so
Oh
they
yeah.
went from the novels and there's like a lot of different stuff that happens in the novels leading up to where the video games kind of start, which are after all of the novels. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very possible that that they could have that taking place. But I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical, to be honest with you. If they don't change the pattern, I don't really see it happening. What about anything else? Is there any other shows that you have been thinking about that could do it?
Like Netflix is developing that Narnia series that they are making.
Oh, okay. So I didn't actually know about this. So they're doing a Narnia series?
Yeah, they're doing a live action Narnia series, but like the original Narnia movies were very very popular. But like if you see them back at this time, like the CGI isn't all that great.
Right.
If you see those movies again, but I think if like Netflix can throw a good budget at that project, I think, and we get a lot of like great special effects, great CGI. I think like a show like Narnia can become like the next Game of Thrones because it's like a little bit the same aesthetic. The original movies were very very popular.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it's definitely a contender to be that show.
You know, it's so funny. So I'm looking this up right now, and the one of the guys, he's the stepson of C.S. Lewis. So he really wants to do the Netflix series rather than a movie. And apparently, even though they have a multi-year deal to the franchise rights, Netflix has not greenlit any upcoming product or project adaptation. So he hasn't heard anything from
Really?
them. Yeah. So,
Oh,
but he wants them
that's
to.
kind of a bummer.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting in the article. He's kind of explaining that he would actually rather do a Netflix show than do a movie, which is interesting. You know what I mean? That's pretty wild. But let's bring in Dan the Man. Dan the Man,
Yes, sir.
what's
What's
up,
up,
man?
fellas?
How you doing?
Sorry, I'm late. I'm late to the party. How's it going?
It's going, man, and don't worry about it. A wizard is never late, Dan the Man. He arrives precisely when he means to. Let's get Adam in here too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a drive-by today because I don't know how long I can stay, but I had a show that I definitely wanted to tell you guys. So,
All right,
Uh,
drive on by. Hit us.
okay, so do you all remember back when Disney or before Disney acquired Fox and all the rage of the new Fox animated movie was going to be Mouse Guard, and it was the idea of the sentient mice living in medieval times. And it was basically being pitched as Game of Thrones meets Lord of the Rings, and it's like this epic novel series. And then Disney bought Fox, and then they squashed it. But then they did a Deadpool, and they released 10 minutes of footage, and it was incredible. It was unbelievable. Go look it up if you haven't seen it.
Oh, I will.
So, and then what happened was Netflix acquired a first look deal with Boom Studios, which is their studios. Netflix will do a Mouse Guard show, and it's going to be huge.
Damn.
Go
really?
watch this footage.
Okay. No, yeah, I'll have to check it out. That sounds pretty crazy.
Can we watch it in the theaters?
What's up? Yeah, can we watch it in a
Let's
theater?
watch it. Yeah.
Well, let's see. I mean,
You
we could
know?
probably do that right now. Let me. I don't know if I have the
I'll
theater set
put
up
the
with
link in the.
the stream.
Hold on.
That's the only deal. Might take me just a second. While I try to set this up, though, Dan, what do you think, man? You got any picks?
I got a few. Well, a couple. Two, actually. I think that Dungeons and Dragons series is going to be hot fire.
Okay, so wait.
I
Tell
got
me
faith
more
in
about this Dungeons and Dragons series. What's the down low on this?
All right, so the word on the street is it's getting developed by, I want to say Hasbro.
Okay.
Yeah, to fit in because they're bringing back the HCU. You know, F. Gary Gray's mask, the ROM Space Knight, all of that is supposed to fit in with the Power Rangers, Transformers, the Beast Wars movie, everything. But Dungeons and Dragons is supposed to be like basically these kids' magic wizards, dragons, if you like that mystical stuff. It's all Dungeons and Dragons is the show for you.
Huh.
You know what I mean?
Interesting.
I'm gonna have to. My mind's a little fuzzled on it, but that's basically the basic premise of the show right there.
All right. Well, I'll have to look it up because I'm a big time liker of the Dungeons and Dragons. So I would love if they did a show like that, and that could potentially be huge. For sure.
Yeah.
Um,
And can I flip this phone? Let me see. This guy right here, not the movie.
That's a good choice.
The show, the Netflix show.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Okay, so again, I don't really know too much about that. What's the lowdown on that? I mean, I know about the series. I know, yeah, but I don't know about the Netflix doing a show.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna give you everything. So the creators of that masterpiece are currently doing a retelling of the classic cartoon, but it's gonna, instead of 30 minutes, you're gonna get an hour, and more like a different take on the mythology of Avatar. So it's gonna be about Aang and them at first. They might do Korra, and they might do one after her, but the basic idea is to do their series in live action on Netflix, though. And it's going to happen in 2021, 2022, and it's by the original creators, not the M. Night Shyamalan.
That's crazy.
It's also going to be produced by Ryan Murphy too, and he's involved.
And it's like so it's like so cool because if the show really takes off, like they can always do like the animation series stopped after season 3. So if they are going to do a retelling of that show, like after they have done like a season 3 or something like that, and the show is still popular, they can expand on that story of Aang, you know?
Yeah.
With Korra, too. They can mix in all the Korra stuff as well.
So
that's it.
Let me ask you guys this then, because I want to, these are good picks and this sounds awesome. But what do you think? What was the magic formula that made Thrones as popular as it was? Like, what was it exactly about that show, and what about that do you think these other shows have?
I think what made Thrones so popular was character. Like, because if you think about the first few seasons of the show, it really wasn't the bombastic, like, special effects. It was all about story and character. So if you really want a series to get off the ground like that, impress us, have characters we immediately attach ourselves to, and you have to have a compelling story. Forget special effects. That can come. It's character and story is what made that show what it was.
For me, it was death. Lots and lots of character death. Because no one expected. See, I'm joking, but I'm also being serious. Like, no one expected Ned Stark to die, at all. Like, when it first came out, no one expected them to kill off Jon Snow's youngest stepbrother, the one that died at the Battle of the Bastards. A bunch of these characters getting killed off that you made us care about. And then, besides The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones was like the show to actually make bold choices like that to their characters, I think. So I think that played a factor into it to make unpredictable choices.
But like that's what Dan is saying. Like there were a lot of characters that got killed off that we didn't expect. That is like one of the reasons that The Walking Dead went down, because they killed like two of the most popular characters, Glenn and Abraham, on the same episode. And that was kind of the first killer that like really took away a lot of the fan base for that show. So yeah, it's like it was good for Game of Thrones, but it was also bad for The Walking Dead, you know. So that can go in two ways, you know.
Yeah. I think that it's kind of a combo of kind of both answers, where like the death was definitely a part of it, because I think like it was stakes, right? Like the stakes just felt higher. Like it became memeable, where people were like, I wonder who they'll kill off. I don't want my favorite character to die off. You know what I mean? Now The Walking Dead sort of had that going on as well, but I don't know. I think in The Walking Dead's case, like there wasn't as much of a built-in world of other characters that had sort of already been introduced. And like one of the things that Thrones does that's really clever is you're technically introduced to all of the characters that are main characters at the end of the show in the first episode. So you technically do meet all of the lasting protagonists. You just don't know exactly who they are. And they start, like, the ones you think are the main characters start dropping off. And then you're sort of left with these other characters that somehow form and you know, the Lannisters particularly become like sympathetic characters. And it's really interesting how all of that goes on. Where, like, I think The Walking Dead just didn't have that. Like, when they killed Glenn, when they killed some of these other characters, like, there wasn't really anybody to kind of step up to the plate. Didn't they end up like bringing Shane back?
No.
Yeah, but that was for like a hallucination that Rick was having.
Oh, it was a hallucination? Okay. I just remember like the headlines of that, and it felt like to me they were just doing anything they could to like bring in, you know, the interesting characters. But I guess like the question is like, what do you think it is about, like, let's just go with The Last Airbender, because that's like the one we were just talking about. What is it about that show that will strike those same chords that Thrones struck? Like, are they going to be killing off mains? I don't know, right?
The story itself.
The story? You think the story is just strong enough, like with the characters?
It has a very built-in mythology that people of all ages can grasp to, not just about, you know, controlling the elements, but it has a very personal story that's trying to tell, like Zuko and his daddy, abusive fathers, touchy subject. Yeah. You know what I mean? So stuff like that. And I was going somewhere with that. I think what got my loss of contract was I was trying to bring it back to The Walking Dead, but I kind of got lost in translation up here.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. So you think that the stories, and there's already stuff that's, I think what you're kind of saying is there's already stuff built in that's already on the darker kind of side. Yeah.
And now on this platform like Netflix, they can expand upon that stuff.
They can push,
and that's what's going to make it good.
That's an interesting take. Yeah. What do you think, Adam?
I'm so looking forward to Airbender. The second I originally watched the show, I was hooked. And when we got the M. Night movie, it was such a disappointment. So I think that they have an uphill battle to climb to sort of make sure you get the taste out of everyone's mouth from that, for sure. But it has the potential, man. It's like, Dan's right. It's a lot of interpersonal stories. So it's character and story first and foremost, and then it has a lot of mythology. It has a lot of sci-fi elements to it. So yeah, it's got the recipe and the ingredients to be huge.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know enough about that mythology, but I mean, that show will definitely bring me in. You know, like that'll be the entry point. Do they have the animated show on Netflix right now as well?
They should.
All right, I'm gonna have to dig in.
Like one of the things that also makes like Aang a great character is that like just like Captain America, he's a kid out of time. He was supposed to become the Avatar like 100 years ago, and he went into the ice too, and then he came out like 100 years later, and all the entire world hated him because like he was supposed to save everyone, but it's like he died. So and then after that there never became a new Avatar. So it's like that storyline.
That sounds really interesting. I see a lot of people in the chat talking about The Mandalorian. You know what I mean? The Mandalorian is a great show. I'll sort of save my take, but I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that The Mandalorian could potentially become that kind of a show? What do you think?
Honestly, I feel like if The Mandalorian, if it was longer, I think it could, but I think it suffers from a short run time, and I think it suffers from not really knowing what it wants to do. Like, and I kind of got that impression on my rewatch. A majority of those episodes are standalone. The guy, Darn June, is trying to protect this kid, and he meets all these different people, and they did a great job at the end, you know, bringing people back. But why are we like, why does he want to do this? Like, I kind of, you know, just, I mean, I get it. He forms a family out of the people he meets, but I didn't really get a sense of
it's sort of
plan
a simple
here, like
Western kind of thing. It's just like you know, the sort of reluctant hero, I guess, you know, and then that so it's kind of tropey. I see what you're saying. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Do you guys have a take?
I mean, it could become like somewhat bigger and somewhat more story driven in the next few seasons with bringing in characters like Boba Fett, like Ahsoka Tano, like Captain Rex, you know, like those characters could elevate the show like that little bit more, you know. It's already such a popular show, but like those like popular Star Wars characters could like bring that show up a little bit more.
What do you think, Adam?
I gotta say a 100% yes. I think it could. There's so many examples in history where these giant shows have their first seasons where they're still finding their footing, and I think because we're on such a good base, like the season 1 wasn't trash. It was really, in my opinion, it was really good. Some improvements can surely be made, and they're figuring out like where the direction is, but like I don't know. I have an example of, and I know it's not on the level of Game of Thrones, but Parks and Rec. Okay, a huge show, massively popular. The first season is literally the worst season. It's watchable, it's fun, and it's funny, and we know all the characters. But it is the worst season, and it only got better from there. And I think this is going to be one of those shows where it's literally only going to get better.
Yeah. I think that I'd definitely have to see what it has in store for us in season 2 before I could make that call. Sure. I think the one thing is that I'm having, honestly, my gut reaction is no, and it's hard to imagine the show doing it for a couple of reasons. The one that really sticks out to me is it's not epic in nature. It's a really intimate story. Like, it's kind of just Mando and the child. You know, and then there's a cast of characters that surround that story, but it's really just about those two characters where, like, you know, something like Game of Thrones, even The Walking Dead, it's an ensemble cast. I think part of the fun of those shows is that they are grand. They're sort of epic in nature, right? So that's partially why I don't think it could do that, but you never really know. Like, if it introduces a ton of new characters and sort of opens the world up, but also because the show is kind of defined in where it can go because of Star Wars canon. I mean, you know, he can't go make a new empire. He can't form a new Jedi code. There's so many limitations to the epicness that I think some of these other shows achieve, and The Mandalorian and the Child cannot do that. You know, like,
well, had it been made out to the show that was advertised to be, which was essentially a GTA-esque Star Wars story, you know, on the level of something like Power. You watched the TV show Power?
Yeah,
50 Cent. if it stuck with that, then I think it could have been. I mean, I think it still can do it. It's just taking a different turn.
Yeah.
Because he's got.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
doing something a little bit
kind of
different.
hard to say what exactly we're getting with
Yeah.
doing. What are we doing?
Yeah, that's fair, man. It's really gonna rely on season 2. Like, I liked season 1 a lot, but like, we're just gonna have to see. I think season 2 will sort of define what kind of a show it is. So what about we talked a little bit about the Amazon Lord of the Rings show, right? We talked a little bit about that. What do you guys think about that? Let's dig into that a little bit more, because it has the epicness, it has the fantasy elements. Lord of the Rings was very popular. Those movies did very well. They're spending a shit ton of money on this thing, like an insane amount of money. Do you think it could do those big of numbers and bring in people like Game of Thrones? Why or why not?
First
Is
thing,
this
like,
supposed to
yeah, go on.
What's up?
Oh no, you first, buddy. You got it.
So, like, yeah, Lord of the Rings is like one of the biggest things out there. Like, except for maybe Star Wars and Marvel are a little bit bigger. But yeah, I mean, that brings in a lot of people like already. But then again, like, it had the same aesthetics. It has the same like fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like this big thing in the fandom, that could like really elevate that show. And it will have a very big budget, so yeah, that also helps.
Yeah. If they nail the effects, people are gonna watch. What do you think, Dan?
Oh, for sure. Like it really, Lord of the Rings is a different beast because it actually has that like grand scale type of story that you would expect from a show like Lord of the Rings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whether it be a prequel or a sequel, I think it's in good hands. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm certainly interested. I think the one thing that I think of that could literally hold this show back, and I know Amazon probably won't like to hear this, but the fact that it's on Amazon Prime. Like, Amazon Prime, like, I know a lot of people have it, and I know a lot of people watch it, but like, it still can't be as popular as some of these other things. Now, they've had some really great successes that I think in some ways will sort of pave the way for the Lord of the Rings show. Like Carnival Row, The Fabulous Mrs. Maisel, the Jack Ryan show, even The Boys, which was a big success for them. They've had a lot of good shows, but like, man, in the last couple seasons of Game of Thrones, like, those HBO subscriptions would go through the freaking roof, dude. You know what I mean? And I just don't know if that's gonna happen for Amazon Prime shows. Like, it could just be a thing where people feel sort of disconnected from it. I don't know. What do you guys think? You think that could hold people back, or am I crazy?
Absolutely. Like, I think that the two biggest streaming services are still going to be Netflix and Disney Plus, and I think Amazon Prime will like be like just at level underneath those two. Like, yeah, more people will have a subscription on Netflix and Disney Plus. So yeah, I think that it can suffer a little bit from that.
Yeah. Maelstrom brings up something really interesting in the chat. Did you guys know that Amazon might buy AMC theaters?
I just got word of that actually.
That's
before
nuts.
I came
so
in.
He said, "What if they bought AMC theaters and put up the Lord of the Rings show in theaters where you could go watch it in theaters?"
That would be, yeah. Then they probably beat a lot of the other streaming services that way, most definitely.
Yeah,
and it would bring people.
That's true.
It would bring
that's
people
true.
back into the theaters too, since there's this myth, horror legend about theaters getting bankrupt because of this Netflix is taking over. Like, sit down.
True. True. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Adam, what do you think about the Amazon Lord of the Rings series? Do you think it's got a shot to take over Game of Thrones?
That's tough because it's Lord of the Rings is very niche, right? Like, I know that a lot of people enjoy Lord of the Rings in our space, but I don't know how much people enjoy it outside of the nerdy space. So that's a tough one. I would say this: it absolutely has potential, and it depends on how broad of an audience it can go.
Yeah. Do you think Prime? This is what I was just bringing up to these guys. Do you think it being on Prime technically hurts it from blowing up that? Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying.
100%. Because think about shows like, first of all, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, incredible show.
Great show.
And I know not as many people have seen it as they should because it's on Amazon and their app sucks. Okay. I just got turned on to this new show called Upload, I think it's called. See it? Where it's this new comedy. It just got renewed for a second season. It's got Robbie Amell in it, starring in it, and it's all about like when you die, you upload your conscious, and it's about like the afterlife, and it's supposed to be pretty funny. It just got renewed for a second season, and nobody's heard of it because it's on Amazon, and literally like you go on your TV, you check Netflix. I'll see what's on Netflix. You scroll for 2 hours on Netflix and you never pick anything. Then you go to Disney Plus and you scroll there for a half hour and never pick anything.
Yeah.
So you never really make it to your Amazon Prime app, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
And is it just me, or are those shows on Amazon like barely getting any
like social media buzz?
Yeah,
No, because it worked for The Boys. The Boys was the most marketed Amazon show in a long time.
Maybe I'd agree with that. I think that The Boys is kind of really marketable, though. You know what I mean? Like, you throw it in front of a bunch of the Marvel fanboys like us, and you get this idea of, like, you know, Marvel stuff or DC stuff, but, like, with a super hard edge. Like, I was like... yeah, that's a flavor I'll try. And
so, like,
it was good.
Sorry. I was going to say, here's an example of a show on Amazon that probably should be bigger than it is, The Expanse.
Yeah.
Right? That's like prime, nerd bubble show. And still, even though it gets rave reviews, still not a whole lot of people are watching it. So it's that, I don't know, that Amazon original show label sometimes does hurt. But
yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I agree, man. It's gonna be so interesting to see what happens with this Lord of the Rings thing. They're spending the money though to make it that, so that people are like, they want that conversation to go down, and then you to be like, oh no, I know, but trust me, you've got to try this one. Like, basically, like, people be like, Amazon, you know what I mean? And then the show's got to be so good that you're like, whoa, I get you. Trust me, you got to watch this. Because otherwise, it's not going to get that audience, you know.
Half their problem is the app, and I'm not even joking. The app, the GUI, the graphic user interface sucks.
Yeah,
it's manageable. Like, you can find what you want, but it just visually it sucks. So when you compare it to what Netflix has, when you compare it to what Disney Plus has, even Apple TV Plus has a better viewing experience. Like, they have to make the package look nice, and more people are going to gravitate towards it.
True. Mm-hmm. Disney Plus has really improved their UI, I will say, in a short period of time. Because when it first launched, I was like, this ain't that good, you know? But, yeah, they fixed it up.
They ramped it up real quick.
Dude, Netflix has the best, though. Netflix is crazy. Like, it's simple, but, like, you know, it's funny because you're right. You do just infinitely scroll. But when you're infinitely scrolling, you're not on other apps. You know what I mean? Like, they've got you, bro. The most watched show on Netflix is the fucking Netflix homepage, and it's got great ratings, you know? So they're really smart.
I have a little question about AMC theaters, because, like, here in Europe, we don't have AMC theaters, but is AMC theaters the same brand of the AMC that's making the Walking Dead shows? Nah? Okay. Never mind.
Yeah, I think they're different, although I'm not 100% on
I am 100%. They are different.
Okay, so yeah, they're totally different, and we're gonna take Adam's word for it on this one. No, I believe that you're good on that.
Although, you know what, I don't know if you guys talked about it. You know what's so crazy about the whole Amazon buying AMC?
What?
What's up?
AMC Prime, or what's the $20 a month thing called?
Yeah, they're like Movie Pass.
Yeah, they're Movie Pass. Could you imagine like having that bundled into your Amazon Prime?
Oh, for
That would
sure.
be
I was
what-
actually, dude, I was just thinking if they did, I would imagine Bezos' crazy ass would do something like if we're going to put the Lord of the Rings show, the first 2 episodes in theaters, and if you're an Amazon Prime person, you literally get to come for free. Now, you'd still buy concessions and you'd still like do all that, but like that's that kind of crazy Amazon stuff that he wants to try to do just to incorporate and try. I mean, the whole reason Amazon Prime Video even exists is just to get more people into the ecosystem. You know what I mean? Of
But-
Amazon. So
But
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be real interesting. I can't wait to see what happens with it.
yeah, for sure.
but Josh, there was another show who tried that strategy of releasing the first 2 episodes in theaters, and that surely didn't take off.
The Inhumans. Well, I mean, here's the thing about that. Why'd they shoot that on IMAX cameras? They shot like a freaking
Man.
film student set with IMAX cameras. And then they had the gall to actually put it in IMAX theaters. Which is when I first found out that the show was an absolute atrocity and definitely not what it should have been. Let's talk about Wheel of Time. Are you guys familiar with the Wheel of Time at all?
No.
Nope.
Oh, I think your audio might be a little too low now, my friend.
No. Okay, how about now? I'm trying to.
I'm trying to find the
done.
balance.
Yeah, I really am.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know. It's
struggling.
actually it's not like terrible on my end.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll test it out and we'll get it figured out. But Ryan says, I know Wheel of Morality. It goes round and round. Oh my goodness. I'm sure it does. No, I don't know much about Wheel of Time other than that it was like a dope fantasy book that a lot of people absolutely loved. And it's very rich and epic. And I believe there is a series being developed by for that as well. And a lot of people think that that could kind of be the next Game of Thrones. You know, we don't even have to talk about that because none of us really know shit about that. But wait,
I
go
don't know,
ahead.
but say it's coming out on Amazon, which is why we probably don't know much about it.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
probably true. I mean, look, it's true though. It's true. How about let's talk about this because I haven't talked with you guys about this. What do we think about the Game of Thrones spinoff? That would almost be the obvious choice, right? That the Game of Thrones spinoff would reach that level of popularity, but I almost don't think it will. And I'm curious as to what you guys think of that.
Isn't like the brand, it's damaged, right?
Yeah.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, so if it's gonna be that, it needs to do. I don't know what it's got to do. Is there any saving Game of Thrones at this point? Like, for real?
I mean, anything can be saved, but
Yeah.
it's a huge uphill battle.
Dude, so bad. Like the thing about Thrones is it's like almost it's more universally hated than anything else I've seen, frankly. That the finale, like even the people that were holding on right to the end, that final episode broke them. And the thing that's crazy about it is even like people say like Star Wars is going through some stuff, which it is, but still everybody's fucking talking about Star Wars. So even though Star Wars is in a weird brand spot, it's still being discussed all over. I don't really know if Game of Thrones is discussed much at all outside of how colossally, crazily bad the last season was and the fact that if George Martin doesn't finish these books after this quarantine, then like they should just give up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's bad.
I mean, I remember those talks about folk wanting George R. R. Martin to finish his book series, but other than that, no talks about the spinoffs.
No, I haven't seen much
Potentially.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, that was a epic way to torch the most popular show of all time. Like, I can't believe it. I honestly can't believe it. Like, you know,
That's like, yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't want to begin watching it again because, like, yeah, then you have a couple of phenomenal seasons, but then you have that bad
Yeah.
season finale, you know.
Right.
dude, I don't even know people that rewatch that show. I mean, I know people that used to rewatch the show, But now, since the finale, like I've got buddies that straight up told me, like, dude, I can't even go back to it now.
Yeah, I was the type of guy that right before and I watched it from the beginning. I can honestly, without even lying, say I watched it as it was airing from the beginning. And after every season, before the next one, I would rewatch the entire thing, no matter what season I was on. I'd rewatch the whole thing. And just after the last season, I can't bring it to myself to rewatch it ever again. And it's sad because I loved that show.
I know.
I loved it so much.
Dude, me too. Me too. Oh my God, it was so rough. And I had so many. Man, the thing that was crazy, I don't know how you guys like handled the last season or like what it was like for you, but I had some spoilers, but I had kept pretty like away from spoilers. And then when I heard the King Bran spoiler, I was like, there's no way. And I was like, if that happens, I was having all these internal battles and struggles with it. And I was like, there's no way that that's true. I thought it was a troll. Like, I was like, it has to be a troll. And then when it happened, and not even just what happened, but the way it happened, like, that scene is horrible. Like, it's so bad. You can almost feel the actors cringing as they're trying to perform it. It's like,
all right, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, okay?
do it.
I would actually, and this may be a very, very unpopular opinion, but the show's dead, so who cares? I would, if the careers are watching this, I'm sorry, not really.
I'm gonna clip it and send it to
him. But I would actually watch a spinoff with that new council that they formed at the end. And I might even watch a series based off of what Arya Stark is doing in those unknown regions.
I would watch
what I'm
that.
saying is,
yeah.
But what I'm basically trying to say is, because I heard about those leaks too, about who would be king, and it was Bran. For me, the show broke because of what they did with Cersei, bro. Like, wait, is it Cersei or am I getting confused with Jon Snow's girlfriend?
Oh, Daenerys.
Daenerys. Yeah.
How fast she flipped.
And how her journey just,
That didn't even bother me. I know that bothered most people. That didn't bother me. I was more bothered by the end with that whole council part.
Yeah, I was honestly the queen thing, the Mad Queen thing didn't break me, but I was like, so the way that it was going is like a lot of my friends were shit talking the season, and they had shit talked the season before, and I was like, I actually thought the season before was like maybe their best season. I was like, they're finally making like great television. I felt like where a lot of like season 4 and on is just a bunch of people on horses. And it's a bunch of like talking and stuff, and like that's cool, and the show's great like that. But I was like really into the action and the way they were pushing that story. But when they turned Dany, I was like, well, that's really sweet. Like it looked awesome, but it's definitely happened way too fast. Like there was just no denying it. I was like, there's no way you can deny that they're rushing this season. They're and that's when it was like they're rushing the final season. You know what I mean? Which it's like when you realize that you're like they're rushing the final season. Oh, okay, they're rushing the final season. And then that last episode broke me like hard.
Did you see the leak? There's a leaked ending where Bran is revealed to be the Night King, and he was the one that controlled Cersei. I keep calling her that, Daenerys.
Yeah.
To be the way she was. Which ending do you prefer that ending instead?
Of course, I prefer that ending. To be fair, I probably would almost prefer any ending to the one we got. But with that one, you get at least like there's an explanation. Even though I would still have a little bit of a hard time believing it, there's at least like an explanation for Bran and for what he was doing and all of the events that happened and how they all came together. Because then at least you step back and you're like, oh shit, Bran was like Professor Xaviering this whole thing and just pulling all of this stuff together. But All right, I'm gonna send the link in because Burke the Nerd wants to come in. But the ending as is like just all it is literally just George Martin saying, "Well, they'll never see this coming," ha 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 ha, and like picking the ending that doesn't make any sense and then trying to reverse engineer a reason that it makes sense. And like when Tyrion says, like, first of all, Tyrion, supposed to be the smartest person in the show, says that we should pick our leader based upon who has the best story. That is a terrible way to pick a leader. That doesn't make any sense. But even if you're going by that, Bran doesn't have the best story. He has literally the worst story. He has missed entire seasons of your show.
Yeah.
How?
I thought it would end up in the tree. Like,
It's so whack, but I'm going to bring in Brick the Nerd, and maybe he can talk me down off of this Game of Thrones match.
I'm not going to. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I hate. Oh my goodness. All right, this show was the best show in the world, and then they had to do it like that.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was like, everyone was like, I don't know. And I'm like, nah, they're gonna do it great. It's gonna be fine. They haven't screwed up yet. They've been doing good. And even season 7 was like, okay, as long as they pay all this off, we're gonna be fine. We're on track.
Right.
And then every episode in season 8, I was just validating for like 3 episodes. I was like, first episode, I'm like, still set up. Even though the last season was set up, this is still set up. And I'm like, and then season 2, episode 2, it's still set up. And then episode 3, Night King comes, totally ruins it. And I'm like, you can't seriously say that this is what this Night King was about. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, honestly, that's something we haven't even talked about, but the sort of letdown from the buildup of the Night King, and they just stop him. And, you know, I didn't hate that it was Arya, but, like, the way it all went down was pretty Deus Ex Machina, like, pretty wild shit. Like, just, Arya's gonna just leap over him and stab him.
Right.
And that's it. Like, it's like, okay.
Had they had one scene where Arya, they had anything to imply that Arya was the person to do this, then I would have been at least somewhat okay with it.
Or had her use her abilities that she spent all those seasons learning, like where she was one of the whites or something. Like, make it make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it's just that kind of writing where they're like, well, we need this to happen, therefore it's going to happen. And, you know, that the action in that show is amazing, though. Miguel Sapochnik is an incredible director. And he did some incredible stuff with those shows. I thought the visuals were great, but even the visuals, like, it is kind of weird. Like, I don't know if you guys watched. Did you watch the documentary that came out after it? Like it was like after the final episode, the following week they had that documentary.
I was hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it actually made me more mad because, like, Miguel said some shit, like, in it where he was like, "Oh yes, the most epic battle of the whole series. You know, and why are we filming it at night with a bunch of dust around?" Well, I guess you'd have to ask Den and Dave that question. And it's like, that's a good point. Like, why not show this off in the full glory of daylight? And then why hide all of your cool shit with that stupid smoke? You know, like, it was like, it's like they made like the series of terrible decisions. Like, it just, yeah, man, it was bad.
The way you guys feel about that last season of the Game of Thrones is like the exact same reason I thought of like The Walking Dead season 6 and 7, because like as good of an actor and as great as Jeffrey Dean Morgan is, Negan as a villain, it didn't work.
Yeah,
it was decent at best.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because he's so popular in the comics. Like, he now that he became more of like the anti-hero Negan, now he's kind of being like the next Rick. He's like next to Daryl, I think he's the most popular character of the show. But like when he was the villain, they just stretched it off like 3 seasons long, and it just didn't work. It didn't work. It was like you brought him in with this big of a splash. It was such a build up to who Negan was, and then you make it like such shit
sorry for my language,
Oh,
such
you're
shit
good.
after a couple of episodes. So like, yeah.
Yeah.
But
he killed like Glenn, and then from there, I mean, I don't know. I heard the episodes surrounding that event were really good, but then it just kind of
Yeah.
gets really
those episodes,
floaty.
those episodes were phenomenal.
I really thought they were going to turn the show around at that season, and then they just like didn't.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I kind of fell off after that. But oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, jumping back to Game of Thrones, like, one of the things about the season is, like, from episode 3, I think they still had a chance to turn it around.
Yeah, I do agree. Yeah,
because like if they had done even up until the last scene, if they had just done the last scene differently, they could have changed the entire show, and it could have still been on track.
Yeah.
Like that fight scene, like even like with all the darkness, all those problems, like the fight scene, like the episode was still good. The episode was still pretty good. If they had given John the heroic moment at the end, it would have been better. Or I still think that they should have. I still feel like they should have lost that fight.
Me too.
And I wanted Jon Snow to turn into a White Walker and become like basically under the Night King and basically like have him figure out what's going on from his lens, and then it be a fight of him against Daenerys, and that would have been a really cool fight. Or had it like, or something else where like Daenerys like just dishes, and like then Jon actually does survive and like fights back. I think they could have done it so many ways. But like even a smaller example, one of the worst, because the whole season was basically denying payoffs, and that was the big issue. And one of the smaller ones that my friend who was like diehard, like read the books and everything, one of the ones he was most upset was actually
Peter
the
Baelish.
giant.
Oh,
The giant was killed. And the fact that the girl killed it, because he's like, you ruined one of the biggest opportunities for a payoff, which would have been Tormund killing that giant.
Right, yeah.
Because his name is Tormund Giantsbane, and he has this whole claim to like having killed a giant, right? Like that was his big thing. And like you had a great opportunity. This is a really loved character, and he's still trying to like prove his like affection for Brienne. Like that would have been a perfect opportunity for him to like pay that off by like actually defeating a giant at this battle, and he could have gone down in the fight, and it would have been a good like send off for him. But like it could have been like a perfect opportunity to like pay off a character.
Yeah.
But the examples,
that's just whack, dude. Noah Azor Ahai, like, and honestly, the Bran is the Night King theory is so much cooler.
Yeah,
it's literally so much better than what they actually did in the show.
Yep.
Like, dude, that theory was dope. And not even a semblance of that. Instead, Vegetable Bran is now king. Like,
and he just didn't do anything. Like you expected him to come in and have some insight.
He doesn't do shit.
All he did.
He doesn't do anything. he flies a raven towards like in the battle. They have Bran. Like so many people have died to protect Bran. You know, Bran's the whole thing, and he sends a raven into the air to do nothing.
And the funny thing is, like, even the one payoff he would have had, this is another example. One payoff he would have had was saying the lineage, right?
Yeah.
But he didn't even get that.
I
Sam
know.
beat him for the lineage. He didn't even need to be there for that. That was the one thing he did.
Dude, I know.
And then
it's
like,
so whack.
And then they neutered Jon Snow at the end of it, and like,
dude, for sure.
Oh man,
Jon Snow certainly has. This is what's really wild. Jon Snow definitely has the best story, and Tyrion definitely knows that.
Yes,
he came back to life.
Right.
He tells the speech to Daenerys about how dope Jon is.
They made him Jesus, and then they said, "Nope, Jesus can't be king.
Yeah,
let's
not
make
good enough.
random
Vegetable Bran."
Right.
Yo, man, can I bring up another show? And it's just because like I'm such a big fan of the franchise, but I think it will suffer with Peacock. But what about the Jurassic World series that is in the makings?
There's a Jurassic World series?
Yeah, I think so. Or am I wrong?
Stormberger's brought like 5 shows that I've never heard in development, like the Avatar one. You said another one the other day. What was it? It was like some other series on Netflix, Chronicles of Narnia.
Yes, you did bring up the Chronicles of Narnia thing, which is a weird thing because they haven't greenlit that. They have a first look deal on it, but they haven't greenlit it.
Okay, so
I don't know how you get those news.
didn't Chris Pratt say that Jurassic World 3 is supposed to be like their end game for the whole thing? Like they're bringing back all these other characters.
I don't
to
know.
finish
I
it off.
mean, it would make sense. It would make sense. I forget what movie it was, but there was a movie one of the last movies I saw. When you looked at all the trailers before the movie, they were all a version of Endgame. Like even Bad Boys for Life had like an Endgame vibe. Like literally all the trailers were like, we're doing Endgame now with our
Rise of
shit.
Skywalker.
Yeah, dude, like it was just like crazy how much of an effect.
Whoops, I shouldn't have said that.
You had to bring that movie back up, huh?
Yeah. No,
Go
yeah,
watch-
we're good. You know, Star Wars, woo.
Star Wars, yeah.
So last thing, and then we'll get out of here. It's a total change of topic, but I did just want to ask you guys what you thought of it. What do you guys make of this whole Deadpool situation? I mean, Adam and I talked about it a little bit. I did another video on it because it just looks like I honestly, when I read into the comments, it definitely seems like Feige's going to put Deadpool in a different sandbox than the rest of the MCU. That's just my take from what I gather. Do you think that I'm crazy? And what do you guys think of that?
I mean, Ryan keeps running his trap saying it's gonna happen, and I don't see them not doing it
Right.
at all. So, if anything, Deadpool is probably gonna, because Feige, I'm not saying he's a liar, but he ain't just gonna give you everything on rip. Like, he likes to say you're gonna get this, and then when you get to the house, it's like, oh shit, this is here too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I think the only way that Deadpool could make it like in the MCU would just be like one scene, like that he comes around and makes a little joke and then goes off again. I mean, and I'm going to upset many people now, but he's not really a necessary character,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, and the whole argument about the R rating, I would much rather see a good PG movie than like a R-rated movie,
Mm-hmm. If it's just R-rated for the sake of it,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think if he's going to be in it, I feel like we know by Multiverse of Madness, because I think I was talking to Stormberg about this. I think a cool scene would be like, it's like these cut scenes of like them jumping between like multiverses, and one of them they like jump in and there's just like Deadpool in full costume sitting on a toilet or something, and
Yeah.
like that's just like a hey, he's here, and then like jumping out of it like a split second. But because I don't know, I feel like they're gonna do a lot of cameos. But I think the problem with Deadpool is like if he's in the Marvel universe, you can't have. We were having another conversation about this, and it's like you can't have him in his movies. Like you can't take other characters and put them in Deadpool, because the problem is the only reason you do that is to market it, to put it in advertisements, put it in commercials, and say we're gonna have Spider-Man in Deadpool, we're gonna have this in Deadpool. And the problem is when you do that, you need to be able to put it in commercials. Like you need to be able to put it in commercials, or else there's no point in doing it. And if you do that, you have confused kids coming to the movie, and then that messes with the Disney brand. So it's like you can't, if you make R-rated like Deadpool movies in the MCU, they have to be completely isolated, like the X-Men did it,
Yeah.
and which is like unfortunate.
well, okay. So my argument against that would be this: Deadpool 2 came out before or during the Disney Fox acquisition.
It was like right before, I think.
All right, good. So, in that movie, there are plenty of references to a bunch of Marvel characters, right?
Yeah, but you know what? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I believe the purchase happened before that movie came out, because I think they actually cut some of the Disney jokes.
I just rewatched the Super Duper cut, and in that cut, they still kept a majority of them. So it's still on home video. Yeah, like Hawkeye made it in there. He calls somebody Black Widow, like he says those names. But the point is, Colossus is in those films, who is a classic X-Men character. Granted, he's a Fox character, but he's still a Marvel classic superhero.
Right.
It's not really that hard to imagine somebody like Cap or the Falcon or Punisher showing up in Deadpool. To me, at least,
Right.
being clowned by Deadpool. Like, even if it's just for a quick second to be clowned by him, it'll be kind of like a similar take to Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, but he's not killing him. He's just shitting on him. Like, not literally, but you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think that's not really too out there to imagine,
that's
right?
not too crazy.
No. I guess I meant like main characters.
But like Burke says, like when you market like all those characters that will be showing up in like that in a R-rated Deadpool movie, like a Spider-Man, like Falcon or someone like that, you will have another sausage party thing, like parents who are going to watch the movie with their kids and will be thinking that it's a PG-13 movie, but it will be not. It's the exact thing that happened to my little brother.
Adam, what do you think, man?
So I rewatched the video, or not rewatched. I watched your video.
The second one?
The
new one? Yeah.
And some of those quotes, I do remember when they came out. So it was a nice refresher. But the thing that got me was what Iger said was there is room for R-rated as long as we make it very clear that it's not part of the MCU brand. And I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact quote, but
yeah, it was important to them that audiences knew up front.
Right. Yeah. So basically saying like it's cool, we can still do R-rated Deadpool, but they're going to make it very clear like this is not your family friendly material. But then again, some of the other quotes kind of makes it seems like the Deadpool people think that they can still be in it. So I'll be honest, I became even more confused on the issue after watching that video because I thought I was pretty clear on what I thought.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're getting mixed messages, and that's why it's so crazy.
Yeah. It's actually an interesting and weird story, and it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But like my thing is, why would all the writers from even way back then be talking about these separate sandboxes? And then if you look at Ryan Reynolds' comments on Fallon, the very first thing he says is, I hope it's coming out sooner rather than later, which I can just read him like, that's because they told him it's not.
Right.
You know, and then like he says, you know, I think either way we're good. If we go into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's explosive and awesome. If we don't and we do our own thing, that's still explosive and awesome. That's probably because they told him he's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm just thinking, like, why would they even say that unless that's what it was? And like when Iger says, we realize a lot of Marvel fans really like the R-rated Deadpool, that is just what he thinks he has to say for investors and also potential stakeholders, people that like Deadpool, to make them okay with this and not freak out and then cause, you know, Fox or something or somebody to rethink things or whatever. I think at the end of the day, like, they know that Deadpool, despite being made a good bit of money for Fox, those were breakout success movies for Fox. That's not where the gold's at. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what's going to make Marvel their next $20 billion, you know? It's going to be the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. So, like, I just think, and you know what's so funny else too is like I was looking at some of the comments on the video. A lot of people that are like, I don't really need Deadpool.
Indeed.
Like for real. Like there were a lot of our subscribers and people that were just like, sorry to say, like Deadpool's not even really that important. Like I'm way more interested in what these other characters are doing. You know.
The most interesting thing, or one of the most interesting things about Deadpool is that he breaks the fourth wall. But they can do that with She-Hulk, you know?
True.
They can do that with She-Hulk. So yeah, you don't even need Deadpool.
I think Deadpool more appeals to people, not necessarily Marvel fans. I think people that like the movies, like Marvel fans are in it, but like I think the people that want the movie to keep happening are just people looking for raunchy action comedies. I don't think they're actually people looking for a Deadpool movie. Deadpool is just a good medium for it, and a lot of Marvel comic lovers and stuff, they want to see it too. But I don't think it's a preference for Marvel comics. I think they're like, oh well, Let's
I've
just see
always
everything
felt
else.
like Deadpool was like good in small doses. Like I would never
Yeah.
read an ongoing Deadpool book. Like I'm not pulling Deadpool, but I'll read Merc with the Mouth. I thought that story was dope. But like, and there's good stuff in those movies. I think the first one's way better than the second one. Even though the second one's fun and Cable's sweet, but like they're not on the MCU level. Like,
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. If you bring them in, don't they automatically make them canon?
that's the tricky part, right? Like, who knows exactly how that's all going to play out?
Yeah.
And while
That's-
some of the casting's great, does Feige want to stick to those castings? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
that's
dude.
part of his
And
before with Sony, like kind of giving that thumbs up because does he want all those choices to be connected to him? He's very particular like that.
And
And
he's
he
also
risked
going to
it.
shove
Yeah.
that movie down the road, dude. I think 4 years is an optimistic
Yeah.
thing. You know, I don't think we'll get another Deadpool probably for 5 to 6 years. Look at all this other shit he's got going on.
Yeah.
He's trying to make 1 million of these movies and shows. It's crazy.
I mean,
only
if there
go ahead.
Mm.
Sorry.
if that if there was another character that would make it into that would make it from that movies, then it would probably only be the cab driver or someone like that. But like you can bring in Domino, you can bring in Cable, you can surely don't bring in the Colossus
Right.
as much as
Yeah.
I would want it because he's cool in my opinion. But like you know,
I only want Deadpool 3 if it's a Christmas movie. I've already made the plot. And I stick to it. It's basically a ripoff of Santa Claus 3.
Nice.
He has to help the strongest mutant in the world, Santa Claus, recover his powers from Jack Frost. So him and Santa Claus and a team of ragtag holiday heroes, like the Easter Bunny with the egg launcher, they have to do a covert mission to reclaim the North Pole. This is my pitch for a Deadpool 3. I'm sticking by it. There's a cool fan art of Santa Claus holding a samurai sword. If he's depowered, you get the perfect weapon for him. I'm pitching this movie.
I would
DM Deadpool. He's not into it.
I would definitely watch that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
This is a ripoff of the Santa Claus 3 movie.
Amen.
But add Deadpool.
Jack.
All right, gentlemen. Well, we're calling it there. Thank you guys for being here. And yeah, we'll just keep a lookout on this Deadpool thing, and we'll follow some of these shows closely. And who knows, maybe some of them will pop off. We'll start covering them on the channel. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. And as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day.